massage and a little bit of mobility work before I came out here. But um, I made these longer straps. So I was cleaning out my laundry room, and I saw that I had a roll of this material, which is very similar to the iron mine straps. They're slightly different material, but they're pretty close. And the reason I had gotten this in the past was so I can make longer straps. So the blue ones I have, they feel like they have a little bit almost, they're thicker and a little almost more cottony, if that makes sense. But if we compare the size, um, just a little bit longer. Let me show that. There you go. Just a little bit longer. And just in theory, could be a little bit easier to have on with wrist straps on. Not that I haven't really been having an issue with that, but just to have something different, and I have that material sitting around, and I'm not gonna, make. Essentially, it actually feels like if you have a book bag or something like that kind of strap, like that's the kind of material that it is. But I'll probably won't use them for anything other than maybe this. But I'm gonna. So I set the bar up to be super high so I can stretch my shoulders out and stuff. I don't really have a true pull-up contraption that I have set up out here, or I could really set up in general. I don't think, but with this, I can at least stretch my shoulders a little bit. So I'm not truly doing like a full hang. I can't really do it, but just the way that this is set up, it's a little bit too short and unstable. But I'm able to still get a pretty deep stretch. And what I'm doing, I don't really see anyone talk about doing this exactly, but it's pretty logical. So when I'm stretching down, obviously, like people talk about, bringing your scaps down and like having your shoulders flex and then letting that full relaxation. What I've also been trying to do a little bit more is almost like shift my body side to side and try to raise and lower shoulders individually. And it seems to be helping a little bit to warm up a little bit better. I don't know if that's just placebo, but I feel like if I have an imbalance with my left shoulder, there could be a chance that it's more elevated or depressed than the other side. And so just kind of sliding around a little bit more could be a way to help balance it out, maybe, but also just a way to stretch it out. And at worst, like even if it doesn't do any of that, like it's just stretching your shoulders still and back. Oh. And so when I do that, I almost just like kind of pull over with the right side, pull over with the left, and that changes, at least it feels like it changes the height of the shoulder a little bit. And then do some scat pull-ups. That's typically about it for those. I mean, it's just a good little stretch and warm up. And really, I mean, the biggest thing that gets me to do this is just setting this up before I come out of here. If I don't, I usually get too lazy and just don't do it, but it's nice. Stretch the back and the shoulders a little bit. So I'm going to do snatch reps today and potentially some triples at 90, and then C, do clean plus front squat plus, I'm back. To make sure my, I like to turn the AC on in my house as my phone falls over. I like to leave the AC on, or turn it on, turn it down when I'm out here so that I don't have to deal with the noise. So then hopefully it's done cooling once I'm back in the house. But pretty straps for those today. Maybe even for the cleans as well. I might just do power plus front squats. We'll see though. Get my heavier knee wraps wrapped up and we'll move the bar around a little bit. But what I've noticed as I add that in, especially like those side shifts as well, is that my shoulder just warms up faster. Not necessarily in pain, but usually, you know, feel a little tight on the one side. So I think it's just generally probably good to do that. Just stretch everything, not just the shoulders, but the back and everything too. It's about. So we will see. Quite sore from yesterday. My hamstrings actually got sore, which is very unique. Doing pretty good out there. How are you doing? So I hopefully will be able to do some reps at 90 and have it be pretty easy. Hello, Lily and Hannah. Glad to hear. No, these are knee wraps. Lifting weights, not the boxer. So usually a session like today goes a little bit faster. The one yesterday, like each exercise doesn't take too long, but just because they're difficult, it usually ends up taking a good amount of time. Just only 2 exercises today, in a sense. A simple snatch complex of repetitions. A German accent. Nope. It's a Balkan accent. No, sprechen Sie Deutsch. So we don't need the glasses. I don't need to see. This is like the best warm-up one can do. July 10th. I've never done that before. I've only ever hit myself in the chin once with a. It was with actually just an overhead press. It wasn't even with a weightlifting movement. And it was like an empty bar. It's quite bizarre. It's always odd when people come in and try to say weird stuff, but I guess they just they want the attention. I'll warm up a little bit more and then grab a disc drop. So. As warmed up as I'm gonna get. Actually, don't feel as bad as I thought it would. But we're gonna do 50 kilos now. I haven't decided what kind of rep scheme necessarily I want to do on my top set. I just know I'm gonna go 50, 70, 90, and at least do a triple with 90. I had a brief thought of potentially doing like a set of 5 or something, but might be too much. Might be too many. We'll do triples on the way up. Set of 5 sounds challenging. Maybe I do a set of 5 here. Let's do 5s. Sounds good. Oh no. Nothing good's coming up. Oh, that's weird. Alright. It's time to hit lifts. I'm just lifting weights, brother. Why are you trying to get... People inherently love being political. It's a weird, kind of like mental disease. Because the topic of my live stream is literally called lifting. Yet someone that is so obsessed with, political stuff would come in here and inherently look at a flag or something and just propose politics. Which, I mean, that's all on you, brother. I think I should just do 5 there. I did 4 or 5. That's actually probably the biggest issue of trying to do a set of 5. And the snatch is the counting. Sure, this fan going back here. Whew. Get some good airflow. Get some airflow. hard, but it's bad. Good morning there, Patel. In my case, it's evening. It's 90 though. At least do 3, maybe more, maybe 5. We shall see. Move your morning swing, Will. Go. Alright. About as recovered as we're ever going to be. So the goal is at least 3. If I feel like I can, then I'll try to do more. Ideally, I do 5, and then we just move on to clean and jerk complex. So, intensity-wise, a lighter day. But just a good amount of volume. I mean, 5 at 50, 5 at 70, and then hopefully 5 here. So, I mean, not the heaviest of reps, but decent amount of them. So, let's see. Okay. Difficult. Oh, it's good though. It's nice too to already be done with snatches and still have gotten in a lot of good work. Well, the short felt pretty good, but I can feel as the fatigue was building up. I had to work harder to keep it close and extend better, which is a good thing to have to think about. Whew. There. What's up, Britt? Another Patel. What's up, Patel? Number of those. Oh, good cardio too. Sets to get some extra free volume. You could argue that it's jump volume in a way, but there's a technical quality of just practicing the lift that is increased, but more reps is probably better. I'll be done at this end of this time period, so I won't even worry about that. Better jerk on the last rep. Blackout a lot better, it's just a little slower. Let's push it back a little bit more. At one point it'll be hard though.
Jorge. I'm hiding. I'm scared. I'm shy. Just doing my raps. In the corner rapping. I'm about to load 120, do a 1 plus clean plus 5 front squats plus jerk. So I wanted to redo my rap, so I have an excuse not to start. It's a very easy but difficult session at the same time. I have a fan that's blowing on me and the camera to keep it from catching on fire. Más viento. So I have some problems with my phone overheating, so that blows cold air on it or any air help dissipate some of the heat. Rat pools are a scam. Stop doing those. It's a waste of time to do rat pools unless you're just bodybuilding for your. I would say if you were, especially above the knee rat pools. It's a scam, Jorge. Back to doing normal deadlifts is just to do extremely light deadlifts. Even if you're literally just doing like the bar or 40 kilos, to go through the full range of motion is going to allow you to recover significantly faster than trying to do a rack pull. So rack pull is going to inherently not have any sort of large carryover to the regular deadlift, and as a result of that, my chair too. Listen here, son. Let me tell you how the world works. But the way that you should try to get back to doing a full range of motion is by doing that full range of motion. If you can't do it with 60 kilos or something, then you just keep lowering it until you can. And if that means that you are literally holding a 5-pound plate and going through a deadlift range of motion, then I would say, well, you just said you're doing rack pulls, so I'd say don't do rack pulls. So obviously, like I would say rack pulls are like you're wasting your time to do those. Like if you want to do them for like a bodybuilding reason, like you just want to work on your upper back and traps a little bit, then I would say just regular deadlift still. But if you're trying to like get back to doing deadlifts, doing really light deadlifts to maintain your technique, then building up as the pain tolerance and the mobility is there. Because if you have the mobility to do a full range of motion lift, you should just bias doing that and then just attempt to load it properly by being ultra conservative with the load, keeping it super light until you don't have any discomfort, and not really assessing it based on how easy or difficult it feels, but just how the range of motion itself feels. So if like you do 100 kilos and it's like it feels like it hurts a little bit or hurts too much, then do 80 or 60 and just keep it really, really light until you don't have any discomfort during the motion, but also in the evening or the night after, the day after, you don't have any sort of, uncomfortable feeling that's outside of, muscle soreness. Especially with like a strength movement like a deadlift, it's a lot easier to build back into the full range of motion. Now and that's me assuming that your ability to do a rack pull means that you have the spinal stability to do a deadlift motion. But I mean, you have to think if you treat it. Well, I'm not saying to not necessarily be cautious or to be unfearful of it, but what I'm saying is limiting the range of motion is not going to get the effect that you want. That if you desire to be able to do a full deadlift, going through that range of motion with as much support or the least amount of resistance as possible. I would say like the same thing with a squat. Like if you were in a lot of pain in a squat every time you load it up, then you could go all the way down to a body weight squat and even scale it all the way down past that to where it's like a Hatfield body weight squat where you're just going through the range of motion with as much support as possible. And that's going to allow your body to get blood flowing a lot better, I would imagine. But it's also going to allow you to practice that range of motion and to build back to it. So if like you had that issue with a squat, you're doing a body weight Hatfield squat, like you're holding on something and squatting down, then eventually you'd be able to build to not holding onto something. Then you'd be able to build to holding a little bit of weight and be able to scale it up. Chances are that unless you have like a long history of injuries or you haven't trained in a very long time or something like that, that you're generally going to recover faster by going through that full range of motion. And you're probably going to be more rapid than I can only do 5 pounds and I can only do 10. Like you're probably going to go up faster than that because you're going to just feel better, as you do subsequent sessions. And it will help with just general mobility. And what's going to happen if you are like really biasing, let's say you just do rack pulls all the time. And so it's like, all right, I'll keep increasing the range of motion a little bit. You're going to get to a point where you're in the same boat where you're going to be struggling with whatever weight you can do in a full range of motion when you could have just built back from the bottom. I always think that erring on the side of an increased range of motion is going to be better for just mobility, recovery, and obviously building muscle, the longer range of motion. And that's actually probably another good argument for a full range of motion, that if you're doing a rack pull, you have a very limited range of motion, and it's not like your muscles are passive, but you are not really actively engaging through that full range of motion, of course. But if you're going through that full range of motion, you're going to build, just in general, longer range of motion is going to build more muscle or break down more muscle. So then that's going to, recruit more muscle fibers. And if you're generally, I don't say weak as an insult, but like if you're injured and you're like weak in general to go do like a regular deadlift, building through that full range of motion will build muscle through that full range of motion, which is your idea. I honestly don't think there's very much use of a rack pull in like any juncture other than for fun. Like if you're just doing a rack pull because you just want to load it up and just shrug a little bit and do that for fun, like I don't think it's a very like dangerous lift or anything like that. But I just like if you're gonna spend your time lifting, then I would spend it doing things that are gonna get the largest bang for your buck. So if you want to be able to deadlift, then going through that full range of motion or as close to it as you can. I mean, you could, in theory, even scale it down even further to where maybe you're doing, like you have the barbell and you're doing a deadlift and you can only go down through a partial range of motion. Just working that range of motion until you can go all the way to a full range and then to where you can load it and just build in that way. I mean, it's essentially what you do in any exercise, any form of training that you do is you build through the range of motion that you desire to get stronger in, and then you increase the load to make that range of motion inherently more difficult. And you can manipulate the ranges of motion. Obviously, I do block stuff, or you can do like partials and stuff like that, but that's how I would approach it. I've never been injured on a deadlift, so I've never had to worry about that. But like with squats, I haven't ever been injured in a way where like my range of motion was like I wasn't able, like my range of motion was disabled to where I like couldn't go all the way down or anything like that. I would just have discomfort. Yeah, and just doing that in general as well is just better for training purposes overall. But yeah, like if you're already doing that with squats, like doing that with all of your lifts in general, it's just going to be better training practice to train. And I say full range of motion or the fullest range of motion that you could do, but it's also specific to the sport that you want to do. So like for me, a squat is going to be all the way down no matter what, because that's the range of motion I want to get stronger. If I was a powerlifter, then like I'd probably want to limit that range of motion at that bottom portion a little bit, so I could, in theory, do a little bit more weight with the shorter range of motion. If I was deadlifting, if I was a powerlifter, I would for sure be trying to learn how to do sumo, or at least would have a high likelihood of trying to learn sumo, because it decreases the range of motion and it makes you able to lift more weight. But if you're just trying to get back to lifting the weights that you want to do, or just lifting in the range of motion that you want to do, then yeah, treating it how your squats do. And really, it's like deadlifts kind of have the advantage as well. Like if you're doing it more like an RDL or something like that, to where you can really kind of treat it as like a hamstring stretch as well, and kind of build through there. But you can really do different modifications of how you do your really light deadlifts as you're going through that full range of motion, to where you could do a stiff-legged deadlift with one leg and work on really just one leg, obviously one leg at a time, but the stability of one leg, and then do with two legs sometimes RDLs, and then sometimes do there's lots of variations of just a regular deadlift you can do that prioritizes a range of motion that's going to be advantageous to every sort of exercise that you want to do. But yeah, rack, I don't even actually know, I guess, well, to give you an anecdote about how, let me say, useless rack pulls are, but I have loaded in here. So I did essentially a rack pull. I set up the block so the bar was above my knee, so pretty close to it. And I loaded, it was at least 700 pounds, and it might have been more than that. But the range of motion was so short that I wasn't fatigued from doing that. And I didn't have there wasn't any impact on the next day. So that's actually probably there's a little bit more evidence against it, is the fact that I could load that up that crazy. And at that time, that was like 40 pounds more, at least 40. It might have even been more. So I essentially just put as many plates on the bar as I could fit, and then to get, I want to say it was 700 pounds. I taped a couple of plates on the top to make it 700 pounds because I ran out of space. But when I did that, like, it didn't impact training at all. And not that necessarily every exercise you do has to like destroy you for the next day, but like if you can load something like that so insane and there not be any sort of like recovery cost to it, essentially, then yeah. I mean, in general, like if you don't care about powerlifting, like if you are not worried about doing a competition or anything like that, even if you are like, I'm gonna sumo deadlift to do more weight, I still think it's better to do conventional most of the time. And yeah, at a bare minimum, it's grip work too. Yeah, and you can even modify it and do things like Jefferson deadlifts or like Jefferson curls where you really let your back round. Like there's lots of variations that you can do that are really focused on the mobility and less about just the sheer weight that you can do, and just really focusing on the main variation and assessing that if you can do it or not, and then also just having a variation that you have in there that you enjoy doing. If you are like structuring like a week of training, if you have 4 days a week that you're training, having 2 or 3 days where you're squatting, a lot of this is kind of dependent on where you're weak. Like for me, I would almost always, even if I was powerlifting, probably not deadlift more than once a week. Have like one main deadlift session and one accessory, but I'm also like relatively better at deadlifts and squats. Like I would rather have squatting work at a higher frequency. That, and also from the way that I'm built, if my squat is strong, then my deadlift is also strong. But that's all. That's very dependent on like how you're built and how you respond to different lifts. But generally, like if I had a 4 day week of training, I'd struggle at it because I want to train more frequently. But I would have 2 to 3 days of squatting, where there would be like 2 days where it was just regular squats, and then one variation day, and then the deadlifts would be one regular deadlift day, and then a variation of some sort, like an RDL or something. And honestly, like if I actually wanted to, like I'd probably bench it all 4 days, 3 or 4 of the days. I'd probably be benching almost every, but like that's because I'm worse at the bench. It's my probably the least cost recovery wise thing for me to do. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, in a sense, Jorge, and this is how you can kind of approach it, is you're kind of always in a rehab state. So, yeah. But if you always kind of consider yourself in a rehab state, you can almost always kind of train normally. And so, what I mean by that is that if you do a squat, good old hoodlums, um, but if you are doing, say, just a squat session and you do a lot of volume, you're going to have to recover from that. Not necessarily that you are injured from it, but you're going to have to spend some time recovering from that. So if you treat your body in the sense that like it's always kind of rehabbing from that previous session, that you're always trying to recover, you can always kind of train normally, and it's just load management that becomes the issue with that. So in terms of like what I did yesterday, so I did a really heavy behind the neck jerk, a really heavy front squat, and some pulls. So I have a large recovery deficit from that, which means that today I'm probably not going to be able to exert myself as much as possible. But when I have that in mind, I know how to manage the loads of what I want to lift today and kind of treat it a little bit different. But if, for instance, like I have, say I had like wrist pain like I had a couple weeks ago, if I need to manage that, I'm not necessarily going to stop training, but I'm just going to try to manage it and try to work to the point where it's uncomfortable, but not above that. And that's what I have found to be true for a lot of kind of nagging injuries, is not to not work it, but to work it as hard as you can without aggravating it. The risk of aggravation, so when you push beyond, at any point, when you push beyond that and you strain or injure something, that first time, like when you do it, so it's actually my hip is actually a good example of this. So it was what, 2 years ago at least at this point, I had hurt myself on a clean on my hip and felt bad, like it hurt. Like I'd only ever done that once on a clean, but my feet went out too far to the side, and
I probably pulled a muscle. I probably strained something, strained a muscle of some sort. But I did that rep and it was like a really heavy set, and so I didn't try it again or whatever. And I didn't have any like acute pain. Like I was standing there. I didn't, nothing was. I was just like that really hurt, but it wasn't like a back spasm where it's like I can't really move. I felt normal after that. But I went to do front squats after, and it was still like a little bit uncomfortable. And then it like I felt it again when I got to a top set, and it was like that same like shooting strain feeling, and that's where I think I did more damage there. But then even like later in the week, like kept pushing up to too heavy of a weights to where like I felt it like not necessarily like pop or anything again, but like I felt like that high level of pain again, and then it took longer to recover. Because it's like an injury or a strain or some sort of pain is going to happen, but you want to prevent the like repeated trauma to that same area in that sort of like high level of discomfort. If you have some soreness or a little bit of achiness, like that's just part of life, but you want to avoid like re-aggravating the area, because I found anytime I've done that, the recovery time is always much longer and much more annoying versus like if you just have a little bit. Yeah. hmm And you kind of like physical therapy is something that every person that trains, especially if you're like really if you're just generally exercising, it's a lot easier to manage the loads that you're doing in a way that's not going to, you know, aggravate things or make you have to work past that. But when you're kind of like push beyond what what is normal for like an average person, then your body is going to naturally have apprehensions about doing that and have, stop gaps in there to slow you down, whether it's joint pain or muscle pain or whatever. Your body does not want to progressively get stronger. There's no survival benefit to progressively getting more muscle and getting stronger. You burn more calories. It becomes a problem. The reason that your body does it is to adapt because it thinks that it doesn't have a choice to. And you want to, what's up, Smoke? You've missed a whole training session. Can't believe it. I'm all done. It was a quick one. I did sets of 5 in the snatch and a 1 plus 5 plus 1 in the clean and jerk. So I basically did CrossFit. I basically did what you do, just CrossFit. But we're coaching up Jorge about how to train because he's doing rack pulls. And I'm telling him not to do rack pulls. Rack pulls are an affront to the Lord. Cycling? No, I didn't. See, I consider cycling where you do like touch and go reps. I I have I actually I don't want to say that I've never done a touch and go rep, but I have never tried to push like I've never like when I do clean and jerk reps, if I ever do them, I've never have like my hands still on the bar. I'm always dropping it. Same with like the snatches. Even though I had straps on it today, I'm still like dropping it onto the ground. I'm not re-catching it. Um, but I don't have that CrossFit strength, the CrossFit stamina. It's not even really strength. It's just like the stamina to do high reps like that. Nor do I have the desire to like rip my hands up. That's what I always feel like when you do that stuff. It just feels like it would just rip your hands up more than anything. But you're all about that barbell cycling. You're all about them repetitions. CrossFitters. CrossFitters. The nice thing with CrossFit is that it's so prohibitively expensive that I wouldn't even have to ever worry about doing it. And the funny part of CrossFit, it's like the programming is so arbitrary that anyone can just do it themselves. If I truly wanted to do like a CrossFit workout, I could just do high reps, run a little bit. Like I don't understand. I guess you pay for like the CrossFit gym type thing so you can be around other people that are going through that common struggle. Because it's not like it's good programming or like it's consistent progressions or anything like that. It's just random crap.
And the only reason it gets stronger is just because you're exercising, not really because there's any sort of logical progressions to it. Mm. Sleep is, I mean, sleep's always going to be the biggest thing. I would also say hydration too. That's just going to be generally good for your muscles and just, I mean, it's just a good health practice in general to drink a while, or drink a lot of water and to always be hydrated. But yeah, if you're getting 5 hours of sleep, that I would say would should be your number one priority is to get more on a consistent basis, as well as just to be hydrated and just to train normally. Like if you sleep more, you're going to recover better in general. You're going to feel better in general, and if you stay hydrated, that will also kind of help with recovery and just I mean it's just healthy to do in general. It's kind of like if you're trying to think of like what's the most optimal way to train, like a lot of these people have these mobility tricks and this different program or this and that. If you really eat well, you try to sleep well, you try to make sure you're hydrated. Like if you do those basic things pretty decent, then you're going to be able to train harder and to be able to train more consistently and recover better between sessions. It's almost always one of those things. I will say for like months and months and months, for me, it was hydration, and I didn't realize that like I never really felt thirsty, so I never really felt like it was like I was having a hydration problem. But because I'm large, and I have a lot of muscle mass overall, that I need to be really kind of hyper focused on it because I just have a lot of muscle that needs water. So it's something too. Also, I have a genetic predisposition, is which is my assumption. It could be just I have a genetic predisposition to being lazy about it. But when I was talking to my mom about that, she was mentioning how she really struggles with thinking about drinking water, just thinking about it as well. It's not even like I'm like I don't want to drink water. I have like I don't like the taste. Like you just don't think about it. You know, it's just suddenly it's 5 hours and I'm like I haven't eaten or drinking anything and I'm having a slight headache. Um, but when I talked to her, she's like my mom was saying that her mom was so my grandma was the same way, and I was like, oh, so I really like it's probably something that's just kind of ingrained from some sort of genetic reason to why you just don't think about water as much for like my particular family. And I was like, I just need to really hammer that because I am always going to be at a I would say like the creatinine, as Daniel always makes fun of how I say it. Like that level is always going to be towards the higher end, but like just for general like normal bodily function, it's going to be better for me to be at the higher end of just hydration in general to make sure that everything is just functioning well because I'm always going to have a lot of muscle breakdown. I'm always going to have a lot of protein in my like all of the normal bodily systems that can make that level higher. It's like it's probably just better. And if that level is at a normal level, like if everything is functioning organ wise at a better level, things are going to be better in general with that. But yeah. But also, Jorge, if you train, I don't say train too hard because that's a really difficult thing to do. But if you train at a really high intensity and you're like breaking down a ton of muscle and you're like going really crazy, it could actually impact your sleep a little bit. Something that you could also consider as well is, I mean, obviously you can always consider like your caffeine intake. If you're taking a bunch of caffeine and having trouble sleeping, then you can always try to dial that back or try to time it better so it's not so close to when you go to bed. But you could also do things like cardio, just like steady state cardio, to help burn more general energy. So then you are just more tired at the end of the day. It's something I don't really have to think about during the school year because I walk so much while I'm teaching. I get a lot of general motion. But now in the summer, like just doing more just cardio in general, obviously is just going to be healthy in general, but also just helps to kind of nullify some of the impacts of caffeine. But yeah, trying to sleep better is always going to be. It's something that is you can never fully achieve perfect sleep all the time. I'm slowly concluding, but you can always get better at it. And it's hard also when you're trying to improve kind of your sleep hygiene to not get like demoralized when you sleep 5 hours one night or you sleep really poorly one night because that could just be some sort just whatever like sometimes your body randomly just doesn't sleep very well. Could be like an illness, could be a variety of things. Like it's just some I've had a night where I went to bed at like 2 in the morning and I wake up at 8 and or 7 even earlier, and it's
like it's in the summer and I have no reason to wake up early, but like I'm just up and it's like I don't want to go back to sleep. It's just annoying. Yeah, I mean like sleep obviously is just good in general, no matter what kind of thing you're doing, and that's why it's I mean it's such a bad like you're just gonna feel better when you sleep better, and you're just gonna have more energy, and not only are you going to exercise better or train better, like you're just going to function better throughout the day, which also to tie it back to training again with that. So if you are functioning better throughout the day, and let's say that you have an easier day at work or just a more productive day, you're going to feel less stress than you would otherwise have felt from your work or just general life because you have a better way of approaching it because your body is able to handle it better. So then you're going to train better and it's going to feed into you continually feeling better. When you have a poor night of sleep, that's going to make work and life more stressful. It's going to make training not go as well, which is going to make that more stress. And you're just going to have more built up stress. And it feeds into each other, and it can lead into days where you just like have a day where you're just like, I don't even want to do anything. Like your body just shuts down as far as its desire to do anything. So I think a lot of what good training comes from, or just good life habits or life comes from, is just having good sleep. And when sleep goes poorly, and when sleep isn't going well, um, yeah. But once or if you can't improve sleep, and that's also something you can use to adapt in the day. So let's say that you know tomorrow's going to be a really busy day at work, and you woke up, you're like, I did not sleep well. Then you kind of know, like, all right, I'm going to be more, overall, I'm not going to be as recovered. I'm going to be more stressed. Like, I can't train as hard today because it's just not, a low likelihood of it going well. And it's really hard to do that when you want to train and you like to do it and you enjoy it and you have like, this is, a heavy day, but it's like, it's almost better just to kind of be out in front of that, be like, it's not even worth me trying to go out and train today because I'm just going to lift like crap. I just need to take it. And I have those days more in the school year where I'll come back from work and I'm just like, I have actually no desire to do anything today, and I'll just sleep as soon as I get home and sleep till way too long. But like, just take that after work nap, and just not train that night, or just train a little bit after if I wake up feeling better. But sometimes it's important to have that. But with that being said, I'm out of here. See you, Daniel. See you, Jorge. Time for me to